I'd like to ask Arnold Swchwarzenegger a question. It seems to me he's still acting, because he actually doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to the creation of jobs and energy itself. I'd like him to go in the streets of Los Angeles and San Francisco, where there's trash everywhere, where there's homeless people, and ask them what do they think about climate change. Go and ask the poor people, what do they think? The people struggling and homeless, and more going to be made homeless in America due to the container crisis off the coast of California, because they won't let those disembark all those containers. The ones who want to reduce the carbon footprint of all the trading boats. So how that creates, they may be creating some employment, but the employment is not productive employment that creates a profit unless it robs other people through pension funds in other countries or extortionist rents in other countries and means like that to finance all of this pretentious push in California that is going green. The thing about it is in California, one, they cannot have nuclear, which would be the obvious simple answer. Just a nuclear power station would be an obvious simple answer, but you can't have that because of the chance of earthquakes. So California would actually be far wiser having a nuclear power plant outside its borders where it's a safe zone and pipe the power in rather than spend umpteen billions and trillions on solar panels and windmills when they are a very long, slow, drawn-out process to achieve the same result as a couple of nuclear power plants would do, which would be far faster and far more efficient than an endless supply of solar. And the amount of energy required, the thing about that is, what Mr. Swchwarzenegger may not understand about energy, the amount of energy required to make solar and windmills is so much, such a great amount of energy, it hardly replaces the energy it costs to make them. And they may say, yes, it reduces our carbon footprint, but as it is because of the things like electric cars, they've proved to be, you can't charge all those electric cars in California, no matter how many solar panels and windmills you shove up. It's difficult to keep up with the pace of the amount of power a place like California, extremely wealthy place, uses an enormous amount of energy for lifts. I suppose you've got electric trains, sewerage, water, household refrigeration, and all those things require an awful lot of baseload energy. Then you've got all the idea of EVs as well. So that's very, very difficult to actually keep up with if you want to expand this thing, you really have got a constant energy loss system, which is a constant currency loss system, looking like it's saving the planet. All it's doing is creating more and more debt, and it's not actually the solution. The fact that they deny, the same people who want this to reduce pollution, which we all agree with. No one's disagreeing at all with the idea of doing less damage to the planet. No one can disagree with that. But the idea is that they're not doing it in the right way is obvious. The obvious answer is nuclear, or must be some other forms of. There are other forms of means of getting energy, like Stirling engines, and then we can look what a Stirling engine is and find out for yourself. There's other means of doing this, and there's other means we imagine with flywheels, with super flywheels that are mercury filled and have magnetic clutches and can be excited by, and they stand maybe 10 meters across, and they stand tall and in a shed, what's a slight vacuum in the shed, so you know less wind resistance. You stand them in series and excite them with a few solar panels. And then you've got some sort of power. Real power is motion power, like a steam engine has got motion power. There's more torque in there, and that's what you need. That sort of energy you need to recharge all those cars, run lifts, trains, if you've got electric trains, and storage of water and all those things. Need an enormous amount of power. And it's this, all these people, or super millionaires, extremely rich people, are talking to get accolades upon themselves or draw attention to themselves, get pats on the back, but they're not coming up with the idea of overcharging rents for people in their houses for a start. I mean, this is, if you're not doing so, you're going to do something about the climate change, let's do something what cooperates with the people in an economic manner, instead of it being coercive. The people at the top are making billions and trillions out of this climate change. Politics, ideology. Should be them saying, okay, one, they should be putting money into this and not causing the people to borrow, put the debt onto the people. They should be putting 15% of their profits into all of this. If they were what we call third income in Australia. And also, the people at the bottom who are struggling now with extra rents and electricity bills and that, they should be charged according to their income. So if you charge people electricity bills and basic levies and charges according to their income, so it's scaled, sliding scale economic systems, as Paul Keating, the ex-Prime Minister of Australia, once quoted, and I've worked out that may be a good idea. Because when they talk about equality, what does it mean? Let's understand it in that context. I'm jumping around here, but nonetheless, try to get this in within 10 minutes. That if there's an equality of scale, a financial equality is not just with lower wages, it's just what you're trying to do. But if you cut back the cost of basic charges and levies, like power bills and other things like that, were ubiquitous commons, and you charge them according to the income, then you can control your income, then you can control your wages. So therefore, it has a cost benefit to corporations as well. It's not like, oh, they're going to lose millions because they're scared of losing a cent, those people. They're most as tight-bummed as goldfish, the super millionaires. Not generous people, I know of. But no more interested in sending people into space than doing anything else, really. But there's a solution. You've got to have cooperation with the people, and that you cut back their costs of their power bills and their ubiquitous commons in a scale according to their income. And then you don't have to raise wages so much. You can control then the cost of your wages. Because it's the outgoings what matter in your wages, and then what you end up spending, what little bit you've got in your pocket at the end of the week to buy yourself a day out or a night out or some entertainment. That's what's important, the basic things. Until that's happening, until some common sense on how the amount of bulk power that's required in California is nuclear power, out of that state. And it feeds in, they're better off doing that because they can't have nuclear power because of the San Andreas fault. Obviously, you can't have a nuclear power station. So somewhere where it's geologically stable, they could do that and then pipe the power in, and that would be done. Yeah, bang, done in 1 year. How long it takes to build a nuclear power station? Well, 1 year, and then that's where France has got nuclear power stations. So no, they can't object. You can't object. Unless you're out to destroy lives of millions of people in this climate change ideology, which looks like they are in America, and they will do this winter because there'll be an energy shortage. So regardless of what Swchwarzenegger says, it's just simply telling the story, his version of the story. He's still acting. He's not relating the actual truth, what affects the ordinary average person, especially the homeless people in the street. If you ask them if they're worried about climate change, they're worried about, yes, I'm worried about getting soaking wet in the next rainstorm. when my sleeping bag on the street gets all mouldy and damp. I think Arnold Swchwarzenegger ought to get his priorities right. People must come first. If people don't come first, then we've got to ask ourselves, what is this all about?